Boards games, board games, it's what we're talking about. Board games, board games, I'm not gonna shout. And over to this side of me is the person known as Ceedee. And down here, I am upon the person known as Adrianne. Sorry about that terrible rhyme. These people have made WELLYCON because it is a lot of fun to see your friends physically when you can't do so safely. Board games and physical conventions is what we're talking about. Board games and physical conventions. I'm not going to shout. Hey, good morning to all the New Zealanders. Hello, Kate. And hello, Matthew Dunstan. It's lovely to see you again. And this is the BEZZY bonus board game BLETHER. I mean, who cares about the time? But I'm normally live every day at 10 a.m. UK time. And because we wanted to try and work out a time that could work, now the clocks have shifted for New Zealand and UK for people who don't like to stay up until 1 a.m. like Shem Phillips. But it's lovely to have you. And we're going to talk about this physical convention because last weekend there were two major conventions, right? There was, of course, Spiel, which is quite often the biggest board game convention in the world. And the other one that was in some ways almost, I'm not going to say more important because look, Spiel was a big thing, but the one that for me was more exciting, that was hopefully a bigger sign of the way that things are going to be, the way that things are going to return to, was WELLYCON, because board games are all about getting together. And the only thing that I'm going to say, we'll just talk about COVID for 1 minute. All we'll say is that New Zealand, it is basically safe. If you want to explain the situation, and then we'll kind of drop the subject totally.
Sure. So we have 0 cases in the population in general. We have a few cases in isolation where people come in from overseas and have to do their isolation.
And yeah, that's basically it. So even though there's quite a number of cases on Google, that's it. But it's safe. And that's what matters. That in New Zealand, people can get together, people can hug and kiss if they want to, and are not at risk of contracting COVID. Other viruses do exist. And,
they're low at the moment, actually. There's less colds and flu around because people are taking better precautions. It's quite fabulous.
Do you think that people are just washing their hands a bit more?
Yeah. And yeah, I guess there's also a hangover of people not going out as much, not spending more time at home, and not working from home and things like that as well.
Yeah, and maybe a lot of these practices are going to continue. Sure, there might be some that don't, but I think that there's a lot of things that we can say, yeah, that actually helps stem the flow of not only COVID, but everything else. And so let's think about these things. If we are in a busy airplane, maybe we should all be wearing masks. Maybe this would actually be a reasonable thing to do. I don't know. But
there are many cultures where they do.
Let's talk about brilliant things. What's a little thing which is brilliant? And I would like to talk about electric cables, because I mean, it's easy to talk about electricity, but if it weren't for wires, if it weren't for some way to kind of transport that electricity, then where would we be without wires and electric cables? I'm just saying.
We'd be going to, like we fill up at a well with water, you'd be going to fill up at an electricity station with a battery or something and then come back.
Just saw praise in the chat, and hello, Alex, who says, Good
Hey,
morning,
Aqua.
good evening. It's lovely to
And
see you.
Although I tried to message Will Cook and she didn't come up, so I don't know if she's there.
So
Yeah,
I just had this.
followed Fixate at the start.
I had this conversation on the way actually to where I am now, and apparently now there's this thing that you can plug into your plug, and it's an Ethernet cable, and then you can plug it into the other end, and it lets you use your electrical wires in your house as internet, so you don't have to re-cable for internet.
Wow.
I know. So talking about electrical wires, it's quite exciting. This is relevant to us because we're looking at moving to a place that's huge, and there's going to be a massive need for cabling. So, yeah.
That sounds frankly phenomenal. It is sufficiently advanced technology. To me, certainly, it just seems magic. Now, I would like to open up if anyone has any questionably quick questions, then let's go through it very quickly. Let me ask quickly to remind people, where exactly in New Zealand are you and what time is it? Ceedee.
So I'm in Wellington, New Zealand, and it is just after 9 a.m. in the morning.
Adrianne?
I've driven from Wellington to a place called Te Horo, and it is the same time. New Zealand is the same time zone everywhere.
Okay. And what's Te Horo like? I mean, we've...
Oh, right. Okay, so Te Horo is a very small centre. There's no major anything. So I'm on a farm right now, and it's not raining, but the whole way here it was raining. So they often say that the sun's always shining on the Kapiti coast, and this is just up from the Kapiti coast.
And it sounds like it's a good, easy time in USA. And I want to ask, why did you choose to have WELLYCON in Wellington? I mean, I know the name didn't come first. I know you decided a place first.
So it was originally founded by a guy called Andrew Ray, and there was a tabletop convention happening here in Wellington. I can't remember the name of it, Adrianne, you might remember. But he basically had a table in the corner of this other tabletop convention where they were
Wasn't
playing.
Wasn't it wargaming?
Yeah, that's what I mean. With the little men and terrain and buildings and stuff. So they had a table in the corner, and then the next year they had 2 or 3 tables in the corner, and the next year they had half of the floor, and so on. And so it kind of just grew. And I joined the committee, I think, in year 3, the 3rd year they'd run it. And it just kind of grew and grew from there. So the fact that it was in Wellington was really why it got called WELLYCON. And it just grew naturally, like organically, from a couple of guys who wanted to play games.
Now, let me ask, because at a convention quite often it's not just about board gaming. There is a little bit of eating and, you know, is there any food facilities?
Sure. So we try to support various people. We have 2 events. So the main event, we try to get caterers or someone, but we've been trying to support local people. So we've had the Scouts do a fundraising thing. This year we had our local board game cafe, Counterculture, provide the food, which was really fantastic. We had lots of really good feedback about that.
Yeah.
But we always provide food. There's been always free tea and coffee for our event. And as Wellington is the coffee capital of New Zealand, we've had to get barista made coffee in. So we've been having a barista there.
We learned pretty early on that if we didn't provide good coffee, we were going to be going down the tubes. In terms of food prey, we had things like this year we had lasagna, and lunchtime there were pies and nachos. You could have vegetarian or vegan even nachos. So yeah, quite a few choices, and then of course all the normal kind of muffins and pain au chocolat and things like that.
Macaroni cheese. Counterculture is
Wow.
quite famous for their macaroni cheese.
Yeah.
So let me ask a couple of questions to get a sense of who you two are and your board gaming tastes. Firstly, I'd like to ask about some games you love. So could you tell me 2 games each that you love and a bit about why?
Yep.
So there's one she prepared earlier. So my favorite all-time game is Dominion, and I think I love it because it was one of the first games that I was introduced to for modern board gaming. I've loved games ever since I could roll a die, and yeah, I think my first WELLYCON I got taught Carcassonne and Dominion, and then I promptly went out and bought every Dominion that there was, and don't have the latest set now, but I'm trying to keep as up to date as I can. And the other game that I've been playing heaps of is Roll for the Galaxy, and I've been doing that on Board Game Arena. So I think they're the 2 kind of games that I like. Although, can I just say, we had play to win at WELLYCON, and there was a game there called Dimensions, which was you have to stack balls according to certain criteria, and it was great fun fondling the balls and getting them all in the right place.
I think I saw this one by Cosmos.
Yes.
And I see Ceedee has some sorts of things to show.
I do, yes. So I just want to make a note that if I'm looking down, it's because I've got the chat on here. So I'm just replying to comments in the chat if I'm looking down on my phone here. Right, so first up, WELLYCON. At WELLYCON this year, I won a game! Woo!
Nice.
So I was really, really super happy because I played this game a while ago with a friend and really enjoyed it at the time. And then when they had it at the con, and they had like the full pack with all the expansions and everything. And so I was super, super happy to win this guy, Obsession, with the expansion and everything.
Wow.
And it's just
not that board gaming is an obsession for you at all. So it's not actually named or anything.
Not at all. So yeah, I just love when you play it with the right kind of people, you really get into the characters and the story, and I'm going to Lady Cynthia blah 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 is going off to play lawn bowls with gentleman Sir blah 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 blah, and you just start telling a story about your mention and what you're building. So I was really
so
really
you're really all about the theme and the story and a bit of role playing.
It's got to sort of make sense to me. But yeah, this one is great if you people get into the character and the story. But I think probably my favorite. Oh, and I have to say a big thank you to the publishers who sent us 2 full copies to give away in the play to win. So I should probably mention them. Who are they? Kienta Games. And my favorite game of all time is Galaxy Trucker. This is just awesome. I love the puzzling nature of creating your spaceship and then surviving to live to tell the tale as you go across the galaxy. So I think I've got every expansion there is, all the different types of spaceship that you can build. And Adrianne has been very kind and played with me on even the really weird boards. So
I just loved making ships. I think making ships is fun. Just to, I think when we owned the game, and it was just cool to build the ships and try to build the most beautiful symmetrical ship.
I mean, it seems like you're really a big fan of chaos. Now, the second questionably quick question like that I'm going to finish off with, unless anyone else has anything, is to ask you, when you play a game, what do you normally drink? Is it water, coffee, tea? Ceedee, what do you normally drink?
A mixture of tea, because I grew up in the UK, so it's a kind of obligatory and just innate in me. And it's just regular bog standard ordinary plain tea. I don't particularly go in for, you know, fancy flavors or anything like that. Occasionally I'll have one, but mostly just standard, not builder's tea because that's too strong, but just regular tea and water. So yeah, of those.
Yeah, I can't go wrong with some nice water.
Well, apparently, as with every cup of tea, you should have a glass of water beforehand. So I have a cup of water and then I have my cup of tea.
Well, I'm actually very naughty and I don't drink, and I'm trying to drink more water. So,
okay. So
speaking
now,
of which, hydrate. I
don't have any.
hey.
You have to go get some.
And hello, Brambeards Gaming. It's lovely to see you. And sorry, that is Ceedee, and that is Adrianne, as you can see by the things.
And this is Jack. Jack is a bit of a co-star on the stream.
So, as we move into the main topic, comment, ask questions, thumb like, follow, all that stuff. Let's talk about WELLYCON physical, as I'm calling it, because this, I'm sure there were other physical conventions that I don't know of, but as far as I know, this is the first physical convention we've had since the end of March. And this is what I want to talk about. Yeah, so how many people was it this time? You said it was like over 1,000 last year, but how was it this year?
So we had to limit attendees, unfortunately.
Oh, why was that?
So we had a venue that the capacity was 226, was it, Ceedee?
Yeah, 223.
223. So we had 23 vendors, designers, catering staff, committee, and we sold 200 tickets, and we sold out of tickets, and we had a waiting list, and we had people turning up at the door saying, "Can I come?" And we had to say, "Sorry, no." So we had 4 sessions with 200 people in each session. We had a late night session, which had about 20 people, I believe, in the end.
Yep. So overall, we had 800 entries. Of course, some of those people were there all weekend. But the idea was that normally you buy a day ticket. So we could have had a maximum of 400 people. But we wanted to make sure that everybody who wanted to come, as many as people who wanted to come could come. So we split the day into 2 sections, and we actually extended our hours out longer than we normally have, so that people got a good 6 or 8 hours of gaming.
6.5.
6.5 in one session. And so that way we could open it up to more people, because often people say it's a Saturday and a Sunday, so people might have kids sports in the morning, and therefore they can't come for the first half anyway. So if we split it up into 2 sections, then people who could only come for the morning and couldn't stay for the evening session could go, and then other people who couldn't come in the morning could come for the evening session. So overall, it increased the number of people that we could have at the event. Yeah. So we ended up,
we had
sorry,
between 5 and 550 unique people, I believe.
Yes.
Nice.
Exactly.
And I agree, it's a great idea, but yeah, why was it that last year you were able to have so many more people, and this year you had a smaller venue?
Yes. So we've grown every year, and we finally found a venue that was big enough for us, but that wasn't available for the weekend that we needed to run the event. So we had to find an alternative venue, and the only venue that was available was the one that we'd already outgrown, but it was that or nothing.
Yeah. So we normally run in June, and because we had to delay 6 months, the venue that was our bigger venue for last year was taken for this weekend. So yeah, we ended up at the Bridge Club, which we love as a venue. It's amazing because, of course, it's got all the chairs and tables. There's a massive, great kitchen there, and it's just a really nice feel to the venue. So we usually use that for the mini WELLYCON, which is 6 months out from the regular WELLYCON. And so we just went back there as our regular kind of booking, but we tried to make the most of it so that it was available for as many people as possible.
Hexagon, I assume, well, firstly, hello and welcome to the chat. I assume is
Hello.
one of the WELLYCON punters, and says venues are a challenge. I assume that after things are reopening, do you think there's more of a demand than normal? Like everyone's rushing to start off and doing all those things that they didn't manage to do for the past however many months?
Potentially, but there's also the regular events that happen that are scheduled well in advance. So
yeah, of course.
And we're so fortunate to be able to have these.
Yeah, I think that's possible, but I haven't heard much about it being difficult to find venues. We're still hearing stories about businesses suffering from everything being closed down. So it's I don't know is the answer. It could be either way.
I think venues being difficult is a mixture of size versus cost too, because there's a number of venues which are larger, but the cost is incredibly prohibitive for a community event. So
absolutely. Yeah, we have a couple of really huge venues. Of course, there's a stadium and an arena, but those, and there's also it's a theatre, but it has outside sort of areas, corridors you can use as well. But that wouldn't work for our convention because of the nature of the convention. We want to have, there we are. That's all the volunteers who kicked us off. We had about 20, 25 volunteers over the course of the weekend, maybe 30 even, who were helping out in different capacities. It's really important to us to have a very welcoming feel to the event. So the volunteers are brilliant at that. We have a couple who are always just walking the floors and helping people out, explaining rules. If people are looking lost, then finding them some other people to play with, and advising if people are at the shelves looking like they're kind of bamboozled by the range of stuff, then they sort of help them to steer in a direction of the type of game that they might enjoy.
It's really important to be a good host. And Hexagon says, I've never been to WELLYCON, I just live there. And
you have to come. Yes, you have to come.
So why haven't you gone? Tell us why. But
maybe too busy organising shows.
Yeah.
So what were your expectations going into this? I mean, it's basically a, hey, we can do things again, let's have a convention. Was that basically it?
Pretty much.
Yeah, so this was our regular scheduled mini WELLYCON time, and we made it a major mini WELLYCON because we didn't get to do our major WELLYCON. And for us, the organising committee, the major WELLYCON is quite intense in terms of time at the event, doing things, whereas the mini WELLYCON often gives us more opportunities to play games. And I would say that I got to play lots of games, so
yeah,
it's fantastic.
Yes.
Let me ask you, because we've seen some of the photos, I'll show some of the photos on the Twitter, and thanks to all the people who shared all these, you'll just be able to see the names of all the photographers in the top right. But like, how was it coming back? Like, Adrianne, was it everything that you expected it was going to be? Was it even more?
It was fabulous. It's my favourite event of the year. I feel like I get to see all the people that I only get to see once or twice a year. And it's just this wonderful party where I get to meet. My goal for WELLYCON is to make a new friend, play a game that I haven't played before, and teach a game that I love. And I managed to do that. In fact, I think I came away with 4 new friends from this year's WELLYCON.
Aw.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just my absolute highlight of the year.
Yeah. It was great. I mean, it's interesting that the first few WELLYCONs where I was the head of the committee, I didn't play any games because there was just so much stuff going on, answering questions, dealing with issues, helping people out, all of that, that I just didn't get to play any games. But now we've got a great committee. The sort of process is there. We kind of know what we're doing. It's a bit of a kind of do the same again, and we get to actually play some games. So yay. Yeah, I played lots of games as well, often with Adrianne.
And did it feel like, oh, so Prey is asking about the dates for next year. Let's give it a plug.
Okay, so we have the big main WELLYCON event is on Queen's birthday weekend every year, which is the first weekend in June. And then the mini WELLYCON is at Labour weekend, which is in October.
So
And it's
first
always
weekend,
just Saturday and Sunday. Not
first
the
weekend
extra day.
of June, and the Labour Day weekend in October, which hopefully New Zealander residents will know when Labour Day weekend is.
Yes, exactly.
It's a movable feast.
Yeah. It's a strange way that the public holidays are here. We have a lot of public holidays in the summer, and then we have a long period during the winter where we don't have very many at all. So when Labour weekend comes along, it's the first one generally that we've had for about 5 months. So people are like really hanging out for it.
Now, because you had to divide things into these sorts of shifts, did that mean that people weren't necessarily able to meet everyone that they normally would have? Because it might be that you go for a particular time and someone else doesn't go for the same time. Do you know what I mean? Did that lead to any...
It did. So some people did pass in the night, but those fortunate few who got the whole weekend pass were able to see everybody.
Yeah, it really was a case of first in, first served. So if you got the weekend passes, then you were set. There were, as Adrianne said, we had a waiting list. So there were people who got maybe 2 shifts or 3 shifts and just hanging out for that last one. So we tried to reallocate as many as we could. When people messaged me and said, I'm sick, I can't come, or for whatever reason they couldn't make it, then they let me know. Then I made sure that somebody on the waiting list got a ticket instead.
Thank you, Steely McSteel. That's a kind compliment.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear, because when I posted about it on a Facebook group, there was at least one comment saying how much they enjoyed it and how much they loved it. A couple of people saying that they've never heard of it, because even though it is New Zealand's biggest convention, it is, I would say, a small, medium convention by UK standards or US standards, let's say.
Yeah.
But what was the atmosphere like? Was it one of cautious peering round the corners? Were people a bit worried at all? Was there any fear in the air, or was it entire unadulterated exuberance and rejoicing?
So each attendee, of course, brings their own. We had a few people attending with masks. Hand sanitizer was used frequently, and people were really good about that. Generally, there was just a lovely cooperative, welcoming, kind atmosphere. Those people who didn't wish to hug or kiss or shake hands didn't, and those who did it with gay abandon.
Yeah. We had somebody at the door when everyone was coming in with a hand sanitizer, making sure everybody got some on the way in. And they would, as Adrianne said, liberally spread throughout the venue, so people could just go for it. But yeah, no, people were absolutely just enjoying themselves, having fun. There were lots of hugs to be had, and yeah, it was basically situation normal. So it was really nice to just see everybody again. Yeah.
I mean, would you say there was anything that was different? I mean, other than it being quite overpopulated for what would normally be a WELLYCON mini, I mean, was there any palpable change in the air? Adrianne?
I don't believe so. In New Zealand, we are not under the yoke of fear for that at the moment. So it's just, it doesn't permeate everyday life. And it was an everyday, well, obviously not an everyday thing, but it's something that a lot of attendees are used to doing.
Yeah. So obviously there were a few people who wanted to be a bit more cautious, and they brought masks and maybe didn't play with a lot of people that they don't know. I don't know. But generally it was, as Adrianne says, just normal. Yeah.
A few more people rushing off mid-game to wash their hands if they've coughed. But that's just good practice, really. Yeah.
Yep, and people being conscious to, as you say, cough into their elbow or not splutter across the board,
Which is really good for game pieces.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that, coughing into your elbow, it's what I've done all the time, but it's been really good seeing that people do wash their hands or maybe use hand sanitizer every other game. And I imagine these changes are probably going to continue and linger on somewhat, at least. I mean,
I imagine so. It's fairly good practice to keep the spread of contaminants low, isn't it? It's
Now we obviously have a question from Hex of Hexagon, which I see you answered in the chat just now, Ceedee, which Game Hive, the Wellington physical game designers.
I've heard of Game Hive. We've certainly had some kind of contact with them, but we don't do anything at the moment specifically to have them along or anything. We do have game designers along, so anyone who wants to, who's designed a game, we had at this event we had only 2 tables available because it was a push to get people in anyway. At the big event we have a wall of designers, so we had 9 or 10 last year, but this year we just had 2 tables and people rotated, so we had different people. Exactly, there you go, there's a picture. Different people using the table for each shift. In the end, what I did was I threw it back to the designers and I said, here is a rota. You can have, these are the people who are going to be there. You folks sort out between you who's going to have the table when. And what I thought was great was they got together, they talked to each other, and they actually often had 2 people at the table for the whole day for both shifts, rather than 1 designer in the morning and 1 designer in the evening. So that was fun. That was great, because I really wanted them to cooperate, to talk to each other, to make the best of it that they could. So, and they did, which was awesome.
Sounds wonderful, and it sounds like for sure with any convention there's going to be ways that you can grow it, and this year was a case of just getting back to the things and just restarting them was a celebration in and of itself. Do you think that this extra attendance might carry on? I mean, with your soothsayer hat on? Because, I mean, I know that you can predict the future. This is like a well-documented fact about you, Ceedee.
That's right. Well, we are in the future, so we can tell you what's happening. I think we'll continue to grow. I think we'll continue to support people to explore what they want to do and how they want to do it. I'm in my work life, I'm an agile coach. So I try to make sure that I'm implementing the principles that I espouse to the people that I work with, which is to give people, the people who are doing the work at the point, the full power to make the choices that they need to make in order to make things as best as they can. So hence with the designers, giving it to them and saying, you folks, work with each other and see what best you can make of it. Try to do the same with the committee. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And sometimes my inner dictator comes out. But I try to support them to look after their area and make it the best that they can. So it's the future.
Oh, here's my game. Dimensions.
Hey!
Oh, Dimensions.
That's right. Dimensions. Yes, that's a fun game. But
it's
trying
so
to
tactile.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's brilliant.
I just love playing with balls.
I'm just going to say that I think that we will continue to grow. I think that the hobby is just exploding around the world, and I just think it'll just get bigger and better. And at some point we will, I don't know, it will either implode or explode. We're in an exploding phase at the moment. So.
I believe that given our current history and trends, and given the popularity of board games, that each year we will, it's us again, that we will continue to grow. The growth has been fairly rapid, and I believe will continue to grow, but it may taper off. And it's not such a bad thing, because we're a group of volunteers, and organising a massive event is a massive amount of time and energy and skill and expertise. And I feel like I'm very fortunate to have grown with the event. I joined the year that Ceedee took over, and have grown with the event. And I just, I think we've got lots of repeat attendees, which I think is a solid indicator of how good our event is. And all of these solid people are saying, come, people are telling their friends. So we get new people every year.
Yeah. I mean, board games just a fun thing. So I think, sure, I understand that there's many other things that you might want to do. Maybe you enjoy being a bit more physical and biking or hiking or climbing. But let's, as I always say, feel free to ask comments or ask questions. And Steely McSteel has a light question, which is, what's your favorite new, like as in new to you, game that you played this WELLYCON?
Cool. Well, I think for me it was, and possibly for Adrianne as well, there was a little card game which was in the play to win section. And I'm going to fail dismally now because I can't remember the name of it.
Solar Draft.
Solar Draft. There we go. Which is just a very simple card game where you start with a sun and you're building a system of planets. And it's the first to get to 8 planets. But it was really fun. The characters on the cards are really imaginatively drawn, very cute, and quite a simple mechanic, but enough to sort of go, it's a bit of a race and we're all trying to complete before the others. And
it was also a really useful game to play when you get constantly interrupted for what's happening here and what's happening there, and this person's on the wait list and we've got to get them, because you only had to focus on your turn. So that was what was good about that. I played a lot of new to me games. I worked my way through the play to win for all the games that looked good. I loved Dimensions. I just keep coming back to those balls and getting them organized. And I don't know whether I loved it because I was beating some people that I really respect as board gamers. and I got to play My City, which I quite enjoyed. I really like these tessellating pieces. And it was my first time playing Raiders of Scythia by Shem Phillips. And I love his Raiders of the North Sea game. And he was saying that this Raiders of Scythia is the game that he wished he had made when he did Raiders of the North Sea. So he's basically, oh, you probably heard this, Bez, when you interviewed him. But the game is just amazing. Unfortunately, it's a you have to focus the whole time game rather than Solar Draft, where you just have to focus on your turn. But the game, there's enough depth to it and there's enough difference to it. And I didn't win it, but my partner did. So I'm absolutely rapt that we now get to play this as much as we want.
And yeah, that's a lovely thing. And I think that what happens with Raiders of Scythia is that, you know, if you've got so many years that have happened between your first design and then you've kept making up games, at a certain point, I know that Shem was saying that, you know, there's wee differences and you learn things. And I myself know that just in a couple of years between you coming out with something and then watching people play it, you come up with so many ideas of, oh man, and it's not like you wish you'd made it when you make it, but it's, you know, we grow and we learn. And then I'm all for kind of doing reimaginings or kind of reworks of things.
Yeah, I was lucky enough, I got to play The Hobbit, An Unexpected Party.
Ooh.
And I got taught it by the game designer, and he's a friend, name drop. He was saying that now that he's played it a few times, there's a couple of little tweaks that, you know, he would have liked. Yeah. And I just think, you can always improve, isn't there? I don't know that there's anything that's utterly perfect in every way. And things change, styles change.
From your own games that there's a point in the manufacturing process where it's too late. You can't change anything else because it's going in.
Not for this edition, at least. I mean, you can always change it for future editions. It's up to you. Yeah. Like, do you keep the printing the same? Because I know that Shem's like, okay, I'm just going to keep it exactly the same because otherwise it's going to upset the people who bought it at the start. Yeah. Or are you going to change it? Like Pandemic had a change, or frankly, between Kitty Cataclysm and second edition, I'm going to change like 4 cards and have that packaging. And those 4 cards are just going to be tweaked. Rat Guy 69 says, I got to watch some game design iteration in real time. Played Sam and Shem's new one and he modified the rules right before our play. And that's it. You know, when it's what's his design? Design is iteration. Like there was this person earlier on asking, you know, when are you a designer? Anyone can call themselves a designer. And maybe that's not a bad thing. Because if you are going to iterate, if you've made a thing and then tried it and then realized, okay, there's some issues with it or something that I can tweak and then you've iterated, that's the point to my mind when you can call yourself a game designer.
Absolutely.
Now, I don't want to be the one to like just be whittering on about game design, or I'm happy to kind of ledger on until the cows come home. But yeah, are you already planning? How far ahead are you planning WELLYCON?
So we have a monthly meeting of the committee every month, and so we don't really stop. Occasionally we decide, like after the main event, we kind of have a month off. But essentially we're back into it as soon as, because we're not full-time, we're volunteers, and so we kind of we just keep things ticking over and try and get things done as early as we can. It means that there's not so much of a push later on, or at least we try to do that. It's not very successful most of the time, but
this year we ordered the dice early. We ordered 1,000 dice so that there'd be a limited number of dice for our attendees, and we had them by Christmas because we were organized, and we have a whole timeline of every month what needs to be done in order to get the event going.
Oh my
And-
gosh, it's a raid.
Yeah.
It
Oh,
says
it's
a raid. So, hello, Mark Peebles. Thank you for joining in. Hello, everyone. Wow, everyone. So, we've just been talking about WELLYCON, which is the first physical convention for ages and ages, and how it was getting back. And we were talking about how much fun it was and how lovely it is. And yeah, just planning in the future, because I know some conventions even plan like 2-3 years ahead, at least with kind of having those leases for the buildings. But
so yes, we do.
Anyone in the chat, then please just ask.
Yeah, go for
we
it.
had our theme. So we're very lucky that one of our committee members goes to Essen, and he talks to the companies there, and he has been hugely instrumental, thank you, Pike, in getting our theme. And we are now at the stage where our theme is set, and we had our theme set 2 years in advance this time last year, because of certain fantastic expansions that were relevant that were coming out, and Pike's endeavours. So
yeah, so this year's theme was Orléans, which we were very lucky to have TMG give us all of the graphics and the rights to use all of their name and so forth, and they gave us some games to give away in the play and win. So we had an Orléans tournament. And we do have the theme locked in for next year. However, we can't tell you about it just yet. So it's all to come, which will be cool. But again, this is all actually, I actually have to give props to Shem again, because he gave us, a couple of years ago, we chose Raiders as our theme game for the event. And he gave us all the graphics and so forth. And he even, we asked him if there was a way we could have a special something for the con. And he even did a special card for Raiders for us for that weekend. Nice. So
we have a hero.
A new hero, indeed, actually. You know, just because I always
you'll never be able to guess who our hero could be. I bet.
Oops, let me make you bigger.
It's not going to focus. Is it?
You need
if you hide your face,
hide me behind it. Ooh, you can't see. Is it focusing? There we go. Right. Oh, so no, focus. Yeah. It was about here. Anywho, so he did a special card for us, which was amazing. And so as a consequence, every year after that, we've been able to go to the publishers and say, you know, look at what we've had in the past, and we're looking for a theme for next year and so on. So yeah. Yes, I gave Will Cook one because she's my special pal. And so yeah, if you want one of these, then whisper me a message and I'll get one to you.
We have a few limited copies left.
Yes.
That's
still in shrink.
Really cool promo thing. And yeah, seeing everything that you do, it kind of feels like hope that do you think it is a sign of hope for the rest of us in the world who have not maybe weathered all of this as much? I didn't want to get too downbeat, but hopefully, yeah.
Well, I think it proves that it's possible. So you know, if you have strong leadership, then whenever situations turn to chaos, what you need in that situation is decisions to be made. And that will then move you out of chaos into a more controllable situation. So I think the issue has been that when the proverbial hit the fan, people dithered a lot and weren't sure what to do or how to work, you know, what to do next. And I think it shows you that if you make the right choices early, then you can get to a situation where you don't have any COVID in the population. So it's possible. It's just a case of the trade-off between the actions that you need to take and the effect that it's going to have on the people and the economy and everything else. So I hope it gives hope, because it is possible. But then, you know, I don't think this is going away. So therefore, we have to work out how to work in a world where it exists. And it's almost that, you know, New Zealand being a very fortunate country, we're almost on the other end of it, where if the rest of the world doesn't get into this situation where they've got it under control and they just start to live with it, then how do we interact with the rest of the world? It's kind of like we're doing the best at the moment, but in the future, if we're the only place that's like that, then it hampers our interactions with the rest of the world. So it's a very big question, but I hope it does give hope. Yes.
I mean, I know that in Thailand, my understanding is that it's not at 0 cases, but let's be honest, Bangkok does have a higher population density than I believe anywhere in New Zealand. And
there's a number of Pacific islands that are also free, I believe, and need to stay that way.
Yeah, and it does help being an island. Taiwan is the same; they're very low. But then is Singapore high or low? I can't remember. There's another island country that is really high, so it's really it's really variable.
Now it's difficult. I guess at the end of the day, it feels like when we can, we need to take. It's like, you know, Big Yellow Taxi. I keep coming back to this song. I keep coming back to it. It's only the second time I've publicly said this in forever. But, you know, it's like, you don't know what you got till it's gone. And this is something that all of us love. And by the same token, when it comes back, you can appreciate it again. And I think the thing is to hopefully be sensible, and we can all move towards that point. And there are obviously people like Deleuze doing amazing play-alongs every night, pretty much. Like took a few breaks, and like I'm doing a thing which I believe is a bit too late for New Zealanders who like to go to bed at an early time. You know, it's up to you if you want to get to bed at 11 p.m. You know, some people apparently just start going. Sorry. But no, it's like we all kind of, if I were in New Zealand, I would be kind of traveling and seeing people and talking people and so much. And Rats Guy says every day they're so thankful to be living in New Zealand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, totally. You know, we literally, you know, every day I think, oh, wow, I'm so glad I'm here. Because I grew up in the UK. So for me, this is an adopted country. Admittedly, I've been here way longer than I was ever over there. So I'm very much a Kiwi. But, you know, I sometimes think about what would have happened if I'd stayed, you know, if I'd gone to university in Aberystwyth as I was going to. Actually, I should tell Lisa and Phil, the Samans Kamru, that I could have ended up in Aberystwyth. We are a fortunate twist of fate that, you know, we are in this country and that it's ended up in the current situation. So just the more I hear about what's happening anywhere in the rest of the world, the more I'm glad that I'm here. That's for sure.
And Rat Guy came from the US and lived in New Zealand 15 years.
Right. Whereabouts are you, Rat Guy? Wilcoxman in Germany, 22 years. Wow, yeah. Amazing.
And Alex's family nearly moved to New Zealand.
Yeah, well, if you can get
Martin
yourself to
Wallace
quarantine,
used to be
Alex.
in New Zealand, but Martin Wallace's wife doesn't like New Zealand as
fair
much
play.
as Australia. Apparently,
Sure.
Julia. You know, the only reason they moved to New Zealand was to get to Australia. How does that make you feel?
Well, it's interesting because I don't. Is it easier to get in here than it is to Australia?
Apparently so, yeah.
Yeah, right. Okay. Well, there you go. Paraparam. Yay, just up the road. Is that Shim?
Damn right. No,
Shim's
Shim's in
alter
Waikanae.
ego. Oh, right. Okay.
I mean, things might have changed, says Xate. I mean, yeah, it's been a while, but I know that Martin had some issues getting to Australia. It's a weird one because obviously we can't just look at somewhere and say it's possible, because it is to do with the geographical makeup of the country. It is to do with the population density. It is to do with the people themselves. And more and more I'm finding that people in the UK maybe aren't taking things as seriously as they should. And yeah, sorry, I'm going to flash up the COVID sign because I kind of, if people don't want to listen to talk, then turn off your audio until this sign goes back off. But it's just, I'm really annoyed at people in the UK. Okay, so go into the shop. I went into the post office, okay? Two people who work there behind the counter don't have masks or anything. Going, okay, they're behind the glass. That's their business. One person who works there to take the mail and then head off, they came in like without a mask and they practically pushed past someone. I was quite shocked to kind of get in and then take, you know, a big, you know, moving trolley out through the door. And out of the customers when I left, because I had to post some things today, like I have to do it for business, and it's like, why won't people leave a bit of distance, wear a mask? It feels like such a simple thing. Even in London, there is space, like queue outside, and I can do it. Why can't you? And I don't like wearing a mask. I find it, you know, it fogs up my glasses. I often have to take off my glasses if I'm walking around, and then. But sorry, do you have anything to say before we take off this sign?
We're really lucky here because we haven't had to have any long periods of time where we have to wear masks or we have to have distance. It's only been for the initial 6 weeks of lockdown, and then on public transport. Again, you could avoid public transport if you wanted to. So we're very lucky here that we haven't had to do that, but I can fully imagine that people who are in that situation get bored of it, right? It's really, after a while, it's annoying and it's hard. But equally, it's respect. It's about respect for each other and respect for yourself. If you are the one who's pushing people aside or, you know, coughing into someone's face, then surely you don't want people to treat you like that. So it's all about treating other people how you want to be treated, and then we will all be in a better position. But you know, the people who are breaking the rules are often the first to say, "You're doing it wrong," you know. So yeah, it's just self-respect. And I think it doesn't show any self-respect to not show other people respect.
Yeah, I think you're full of great words, and thank you for all the love. Thank you for being here. Aquasilla says, I like to cough loudly whenever I see someone without a mask.
Nice.
Pray, it sounds like you're living in a wonderful place. To recap, like
I heard an interesting story the other day that when somebody is with a friend and they see someone who's not wearing their mask properly, or, you know, coughing over somebody or whatever, usually with the mask, what they do is between them, one of them wears their mask wrong and the other goes up and just slaps them across the face and says, "Put your mask on properly." And then the other person who's next to them just goes,
Okay, we've got one final question from Celia McSteel. Other than having the smaller venue, although this was just because it was WELLYCON Mini, it wasn't because of COVID, just to clarify, as I understand it. It was actually oversubscribed because the big WELLYCON hadn't happened. But so other than having the hand sanitizer available, were there any other challenges that COVID posed for WELLYCON 2020? Were there any other changes?
Well, we had the risk of it not happening.
On, off.
Yeah. We totally decided, we had a really good conversation as a committee about, if we're at level this, what does it look like? If we're at level this, what does it look like? And so on through the 4 levels. And, you know, obviously at 4 and at 3, which are the super lockdown levels, nothing can happen. At level 2, which is where you're allowed to have 100 people, up to 100 people together, we could have... Okay, fine.
I don't know what kind of games you're playing.
You're going to become part of the committee if you've had the chip put in, my friend. But at level 2, where you could have up to 100 people, we talked about it and we decided, well, no, because you'd have to have people washing their hands in between every game. You'd have to not have games where you hand pieces to each other, or cards or anything like that. So at level 2, even, it was not going to go ahead. So we had to be at level 1, where you can have an unlimited number of people together, and the precautions are simply that we are all registered and we're taking everyday precautions like washing your hands. So if it had gone at any stage to level 2, we would have not happened.
Wow. And if people want to find out more about this, then obviously there's the website, and I shared all the links. It's in the YouTube description or in the Twitch comments or Facebook comments. And do you have anywhere else that people can find out more about future WELLYCONs?
Facebook group?
Yep, Facebook group's there. That's the main sort of chat channel that the news comes out on. Twitter. We actually do have an Instagram, but I don't know what it is.
I would suggest joining our mailing list. So go to the website, join our mailing list, and then you will get notified. And
then you'll get all the, when the tickets are coming, what events are happening, when the tickets are going on sale, and so on. So, yeah.
And we promise not to send too many emails.
Okay. I should have this for next time, but the Instagram, there we go, is WELLYCON_NZ, just like the Twitter.
Cool.
Which you can see up at the top, and there's some great pictures. I assume that's of, just 5 days ago, of everyone enjoying stuff and having all that. And
so we can thank Christoph for those.
Yes, he's certainly been amazing on our. He's in charge of the whole publicity side of things. It's great.
Just to say we've had a lovely chat, and like we talked about wires and the counterculture, the food, like everything that's gone on, and just it's been lovely hearing about this, and seeing these wonderful images of people having fun. And I hope that it continues for many years and it continues to grow and becomes a wonderful thing. If you want to find me, I am stuffbybez.com, stuffbybez.bigcards.com, where you can buy my stuff, twitter.com/stuffbybez, where I share lots of stuff, instagram.com/stuffbez, where I share pictures of stuff occasionally, twitch.tv/stuffbez. I stream every day at 10 AM UK time, plus occasionally other times like tonight. youtube.com/c/stuffbez for old videos, stuffbybez.com/discord if you want to join and chat more about this morning's topic, New Zealand time, or if you want to chat about cats, there's a cat chat, and I encourage everyone to post pictures of their cats in that channel on my Discord. So,
Fantastic.
and do you have anything left to say before we say bye-bye and raid to lose us?
Thank you. We just have to say a big thank you. Well, I have to say a big thank you to the committee, because they are just amazing, and stuff happens, and it's awesome. And secondly, I said it at the time, but I am very thankful to our community, which is an amazing gaming community. We are so supportive of each other, very welcoming, and you know, it's just amazing how much love and care there is in the gaming community here in Wellington and in New Zealand as a whole. And a big thank you to Adrianne for being the instigator of the love and the cherishing that happens. She is the one who creates all this amazing atmosphere, and I am very, very thankful to have her around.
Oh, thank you. I guess I just am so blessed to be part of this community, and grateful to our attendees, to our committee, to our sponsors, to people like you who spread the word. Yeah, thank you. It's just, I'm so pleased to be able to be part of this.
And apparently there's at least one person in Wellington who is interested in board games, but you know, hasn't attended. So maybe
hasn't been. Exactly. Yes. We'll see you next
maybe
year.
next year you'll be there. And yeah, chat chat is the one in French instead of cat chat. Chat. Oh, I like that.
Yeah. Nice.
Are Delusa's streaming tonight? Oh wait, they've just started. Okay, there's 5 people there.
Yes,
we
they're
will
on.
go to raid Loser-Palooza, and while we're waiting for that raid to go, I will say my last thing, which is to say bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Do. Bye, 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 bye. This is a goodbye song. Bye, 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 bye. Thank you for watching along. Bye, 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 bye. This is the end of the show. Bye, 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 bye. And now it's time to go. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks for watching.
Reading.